Hey everybody, it's the Racetrack Ladies.
Hi, we're still in Florida.
Like that was gonna change. So
Today's Monday.
I was getting to
Happy
that.
Valentine's Day.
I was getting to that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
So
excited.
impatient back here.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. To you and your furry little ones.
Some people have people that are not furry.
You know, we all gave each other Valentine's Day gifts, but I don't think we've gotten anything from you.
Did we get something?
I bought everybody lunch today for Valentine's Day.
And it was awesome lunch.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I brought my sweetheart some chocolate too.
You bought yourself some fudge.
I did.
She
All right.
did.
So anyhow, so we weren't on yesterday because there wasn't a whole lot going on other than watching the paint dry at Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah,
Which is-
qualifying.
Yeah, also known as qualifying. So
But it was exciting.
It was.
Yes, it was.
It was.
Okay.
So if y'all haven't heard by now, you're sleeping under a rock. Dale Jr. is on the pole and Jeff Gordon is second. They're locked in,
Yeah, so we have an all Hendrick front row.
which is great news.
Well, I guess if you work for Hendrick, it is.
Well, you know, I couldn't think of two people who I'd rather see on the front row.
I'm very happy.
Two people that had like the worst sucky seasons last year.
They really did. Well, Jeff did finish where?
He still finished in the top 10, but still,
Well,
for
that's not
Jeff, if he's not winning the championship, it's a sucky year.
I'm very happy for Junior, and I really hope that he has a good season this year.
He seemed kind of happy.
He
So,
did.
yeah. So, anyhow.
Anyhow,
So the
moving
good
on.
thing is that locks in the front row for the Daytona 500. Now, we've mentioned it before that it's a
Right.
totally different thing when you come to the Daytona 500.
Not your normal kind of format.
Yeah, you don't qualify the same kind of way. But, you know, so Denny Hamlin was trying to make it exciting, though, for qualifying.
Well, it's always important to tug on the wheel before you leave pit
A little
road.
tug.
Or to have a steering wheel. I don't know.
It helps.
Apparently he was coming out and
He's like, whoa,
oh,
whoa.
I got no steering wheel.
And
You
then
know
it
what?
right to the
Reminded me
grass.
of Mark Martin at, what was that, Talladega when he took out Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, just
I'll
saying.
never forget that. I think I was in Phoenix at the time.
Well, because he tried to almost take out Jeff Gordon.
Right, no, it was Jimmy
he took out
Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
But-
that was the first year for Jimmy's championship, perhaps. I don't know, but
But that's
really?
a note to self.
Yeah.
Be sure and tug on your steering wheel before you leave pit road.
don't tug on Superman's cape,
But tug on
tug on your
wheel.
steering wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I'm wondering, you know, they say that that's supposed to be the driver's responsibility
Yes,
to
it
touch
is.
the wheel.
They lock and load.
I guess he was a little preoccupied.
Think
He
was-
saw other people flying by. I don't know.
No, I think he was still pondering his illegal move from Saturday night. I'm just saying.
Maybe. So anyhow, so that kind of qualifying. So again, it locks in the top two positions. But
Right.
now we get to the exciting thing, which would be the races on Thursday.
Got the dualies coming up. We love our dualies.
I'm just listening. Alrighty then. So the dualies are coming up, and we're very excited about that because
Yes, we are.
it kind of gets nerve-wracking a little bit.
Well, if you
Yeah.
got some dog in the hunt, yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's
we have all our
because-
dogs in the hunt because it's actually their car for the 500.
Yes, it is.
So we don't want anything to happen to that car.
No,
really.
we do not.
Because there are people trying to race in for the 500, and when people are trying to race in for the 500, they'll do anything to get
Yes.
into the race, which potentially could be wrecking our guy.
And we
Well,
don't want that.
Because you're either going to race in on speed or your finishing order in the dualies.
Yes.
So, you know, there's going to be that transfer spot. And you don't want to be the one on the wrong side of the transfer.
You know,
spot.
and even
That's hard to say.
inevitably, I mean, every year it really kind of gets exciting because there are drivers that you really want to get into the 500,
Right.
but they got to race their way in. So, you know, you've got a couple people like, say, Michael Waltrip and Dave Blaney. They might have the speed to get in, but they might kind of have to race in, so you kind of have to wait and see how everything else shakes out. You know, Michael Waltrip, I think, coming into this year, thought he had a ride in the,
Well, yeah,
and he had a spot
well,
in
that he had the
500.
points.
Yeah.
Well, he owns how many teams that are.
You would have thought he had the points, but they're
Do
being
you
used.
think they're going to give up their points so
No.
that he can get
Well,
in?
he wants his teams in there, and it's kind of poignant because he wrote a book, and so it would be great if he was in the race.
What, capitalism, what?
Oh my
Anyhow.
gosh.
Hey, he's Michael Waltrip. He can do whatever he wants.
Not really.
Well,
Yes, he
we'll see
can.
on Thursday
He's a
if he
commentator.
actually races
Hey.
his way into the field.
We're talking about
Oh my
Michael
gosh.
Waltrip.
I think we did this a couple years ago.
And so we're talking about him, and I think he may have won that race.
So
Okay,
then
so
there's-
Tony Stewart is in the first dually race.
Jeff's in
So
the
it's Junior.
second one.
Okay, well, Tony's the one I care about.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Jeff's in the second one, and
Yay.
you know, we'll figure that out. Because it really doesn't matter what dually they're in, because most of
Yeah.
the guys that most people follow probably already kind of locked in.
Well,
So
the go
anyhow.
or go homers are, what do we got?
Yes, we got Casey
Oh, yeah.
Mears, we've got McDowell, and you know JJ Yaley. So let's talk about JJ Yaley.
Why?
Okay.
Well, I really like JJ Yaley, and I think
You like his name or you like his driving?
I like JJ Yaley.
Okay, I'm just
He
curious.
used to race with the Gibbs team.
Yes, he
and
did.
Then he kind of fell out of favor, and then he kind of fell to the wayside. Now
Yeah.
he's
It
trying to kind of
happens.
come. It does.
You know,
He's
and
trying
I
to come
don't
back.
think that JJ is a bad driver. I
No.
think it's with the caliber of talent that is out there.
Can we
It's-
say Michael Waltrip?
It's very difficult to make a
It
name for
happens.
yourself. Well, and speaking of Michael Waltrip, if you look at the qualifying speeds, Mikey actually qualified 24th, but because there are so many drivers that qualified worse than him that are guaranteed in the top 35,
Thank you.
that's why Mikey is having to drive himself into the race.
So
Well, see,
Michael,
I'm okay.
he might be able to make it. He
Not
might not,
really.
but he's going to have to do something and hope some other bad luck happens to some other folks. But
Yeah.
anyhow.
All right, well, moving on.
Anyhow.
So I thought it was interesting. So
So
we get
with regard to the dualies,
I was gonna say, well, the Bud Shootout,
Yeah.
taught us a few things, the toot train, right?
Yeah.
So now, so NASCAR's like, oh, we can't have a lot of that going
well, wait.
on.
First off, everybody's like, "Oh, we really like this racing." We were like, "No, we didn't."
No, we didn't.
Somebody
They didn't
asked
ask
us. So NASCAR sat back and went, "You know what? This race was
Those racetrack ladies know what they're talking about.
That's right.
And because
That
we
racing
came
kind
back
of did
after the Bud Shootout and we saw some of the, I guess you would call them highlights on the newsreels, not so much. We're talking 2x2. It looked
Yeah.
as dumb on TV as it did sitting
So,
in the stands.
but the good thing is that NASCAR is like, okay, well, maybe we need to do something. But this is where I have an issue. So at what point, with
Really?
NASCAR making all these changes, are they basically prescribing who they want to win?
You know, it's a good point because I have a feeling that I think that they are.
Well, because so what are they may change the restrictor plates. We don't know.
They
right?
said no right now. I think after the duels we'll find
they have
out.
changed like the day before.
Yeah,
the
after the
race
dualies,
before.
we'll probably find out.
I think after the
Yeah,
dualies
yeah.
we'll really know what
they have
wanna
changed
do.
on very
But then
short
they
notice
changed
before.
the pressure relief valve. I guess the PSI is
Right.
now 33. That
So
means that your temperature can only get to 240
Right.
degrees.
So
and-
guys that are tucking
Yeah,
up
but they
real
have the
close,
relief. They have the thing that can make it go as high as they want now. I mean, they got technology out the.
Well, yeah, but
they're
so now
now on
Hey.
cars overheating and not being able to tuck in 2x2, so that you're going to have to pull your nose out to get some air and give somebody an opportunity to pass.
But this is where I have an issue with that.
I like
so,
it when you get tucked. I'm sorry, I digress.
Oh my lord! So this is where I have an issue with that.
You still have an issue?
Well, because
Of course
so
she does.
they're not trying to eliminate it; they're trying to make it not happen as long, which means it's still going to happen, right?
Right.
So really,
It's gonna
what-
happen like this. Oh wait.
Well,
oh wait.
so it's going to be a lot of this back and forth stuff,
Yes.
which to me, again, is still not racing, right? So you've got that. Then they tried to reduce the air intake or inlet for the cooling system, whatever. Again,
Right.
trying to make the cars overheat. Well, drivers are still going to race it as they're going to race it. They're going to do the 2x2x2x. They're still going to do it.
Yeah, I think after the dualies we'll see more changes because NASCAR will be like this. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And I think back to the older days.
Tell me about
Back to
that.
the older days in NASCAR.
What about 10 years ago?
Well, before we had this common template thing and everything being the same, and before they were prescribing all these kinds of things, like 2 days before a race, so back then what did we do? They just went out there and raced.
You just
Hello.
put your car out there and you
I
went.
think that we should stop having such aerodynamic dependent cars, and because that's what we used to have. We used
And
to
so
have.
how do we make that change? I think they did a lot of it for the safety of the drivers, but then what's happened is they're controlling so much
Yeah.
that
And it's
not even
ruining
racing anymore.
racing before used to be unpredictable, truly unpredictable, and whoever had the best car, the fastest car, was the winner.
Well,
And
they're
now-
just trying to.
And you typically did it on your own.
That's right.
But now I think they're doing so much that they're creating more of a problem, making it more dangerous. And I actually am worried that they're creating more danger for these drivers.
Well, and what was it that Jamie McMurray that said that whoever wins the race, they need to reward the second place finisher because that's the one who actually let the first place finisher win?
Yes,
absolutely.
that's the one.
It's two people that are going to win the race. It's not really one by
Absolutely.
themselves. So anyhow, so well, I guess we'll see. There's two changes that they've already done with the pressure relief valve and then the air inlet, cooling thing. And then we don't know if they're going to do the restrictor plates. We'll have to see.
Not yet.
So now let's kind of fast forward. So then we get to the Daytona 500 day. So there are a couple of things going on with the Daytona 500. So it is the 10th year anniversary of Dale Earnhardt Sr. dying.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And so we're going to have...
We'll have a moment of silence at lap 3.
Well, NASCAR tried to figure out what would be the best way
Yes.
to honor Dale Sr.'s memory and, you know, mark the occasion. And really the best way to do that is by racing. So on the third lap, we are going to have a silent lap.
We're going to hold up our number 3.
Hold up our, you know, 3 fingers.
We're all going to stand up. We're all up number 3 on our fingers.
In respect, you know, because whether you like Dale Sr. or not, you can't deny he was a man's man and a serious stock car driver.
Yeah, he was.
I respect the man.
I'm like, so, you know, and I've said this with us, you know, when we've gone out and stuff, and I'm like, you know, so has this become like the new JFK thing, you know, that every year you remember where you were when Dale Earnhardt Sr. died? Is it like that we have to do that kind of thing every 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
Well, we know where we were. We were at the track.
We were at the track.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so, I don't know. I mean, so I'll, you know, I'll stand up and do that stuff, and you know, I'm really sad that he died because I was there, but, you know, it's like, so really, would he really want us, like Dale Jr. said, what, Daddy wouldn't want us talking about him 10 years later.
He would say, move on, let's get going.
Yeah. It's time to go racing. Yeah.
That's right.
So let's go racing.
Like he told Richard Childress, if anything ever happens to me, you keep on racing.
And that's what we're doing. So it's going to be the Daytona 500. We're ready to roll, ready to get to the dualies.
But we have Brad Paisley as our opening act.
That's right, Brad Paisley. And I don't know what his latest hit is, so we may have to Google it.
But he may do the Tim McGraw thing like Tim McGraw did last year and, you know, have half a leg in the car, half a leg out.
But he did blow us away with his performance, Tim McGraw, didn't he?
Oh, Tim McGraw was pretty good.
He did blow me away in The Blind Side.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Wait,
okay, sure, that's not NASCAR.
Okay, but anyway, so I think that is kind of where we are on day, well, 2.5.
We got to skip today.
It's Monday. And we went and did a couple of historic things, or we tried to do that today to shake it up.
We're trying to get some vacation.
But tomorrow we're going to do Disney.
Yes,
and Jeff Gordon was at Disney today. We kind of blew that.
He didn't let us know what his itinerary was.
He didn't give us the 411.
I didn't get a text.
So we're going to check that out tomorrow, and but we'll keep you posted on what's happening, and we'll see you around.
I guess so.
Be sure and follow us on Twitter and on Facebook.
All right, we'll check you guys later.
Bye.